This is Basically Atheist, the podcast that encourages skepticism and critical thinking in day-to-day life and encourages breaking the chains of religious indoctrination. Before I started this podcast, had someone asked me if I was an angry atheist, I'd have said, no, me? No. That phase for me came and went years ago. Do you know what I mean by angry atheist? What I mean is an atheist who is thinking and sometimes implying, if not stating blatantly, that people who are theists are dumb. I must admit, I think many of us are, even if we don't want to admit it. Hell, I've seen some atheists call theists idiots right to their faces because of their God belief. And it's not cool. It's not a good look for us. Quick side note here. Some of you may be thinking I'm a huge hypocrite for criticizing people for calling theists idiots, since I do sometimes refer to people as dumb or stupid or idiots. But when I am calling someone an idiot, it's usually because they are being willfully ignorant. It's someone who believes something that there is absolutely no evidence for, and in fact you show them evidence to the contrary, and they still cling to their false ideas. Cognitive dissonance. That is the person I call an idiot. I'm sorry, I can't think of any other word to describe an anti-vaxxer. That doesn't mean I'm cool with people calling someone an idiot simply for being a theist. Yeah, I'm afraid I have to admit, if I listen to one of my earlier 3 episodes, I definitely sound angry. Not that I'm completely without reason to be angry, but I'm not sure this is quite how I want to always come across. It's just a part of who I am. Being an atheist is just part of who I am. And I don't want to come across as someone who is just angry and bitching and moaning about stuff 24/7. Of course, the angry atheist is a stereotype pushed by some people that are very religious. Practically a straw man argument they build to try to make us look like we're just as passionate and religious as they are. Or that our way is wrong because we're all mean and hateful. And obviously with that much hatred in our heart, we must be of the devil. And I want to point out, I know not all theists see us this way, but there is a stereotype of like this that's out there. Ken Ham is one such religious asshole that pushes this idea, this narrative of the angry atheist. When you are any kind of non-believer, in particular if you use the A word to label yourself, if you are an atheist, it's a pretty safe bet that a lot of people out there are going to just assume you're an asshole just because you're an atheist. But as tempting as it is sometimes, perhaps we should try to show a little restraint so that we don't all come across as always being an asshole. We don't want to prove them right, even if they are incorrect. We don't want to make them look like they're right. I've been pretty bad about this myself, getting into arguments with people online. If they would just understand, if they could just see the evidence for this, if, I ask them to show evidence for their claim and they can't, maybe they'll see the folly of their ways, or maybe someone else will. Sometimes it all seems rather pointless. Sometimes it seems like you're just screaming into this big, black, religious abyss and that it doesn't matter. Some days, that is how I feel, and it's very aggravating. It's very hard to let things go online, but I am lately trying to let things go a little more. Maybe I should pick my battles, but I don't always take my own advice, and I often find myself in a virtual screaming match. Can you back up your claim? Can you back up your claim? Can you back up your claim? They usually don't. They start just hurling insults at me because I don't see things their way. I'm what's wrong with the world. I'm everything that's wrong with the world. Heading us straight to the end time. And even though I do find myself having a hard time giving it up, these arguments often are fruitless. Or I feel that they are pretty fruitless. I mean, I suppose it's possible that there are other people who aren't actually engaging in it that could be reading it and benefiting from it. I know I have benefited from reading other people's arguments. The likelihood that this always happens, I think, is low, but perhaps somebody out there occasionally sees the exchanges I have with people and it makes them think. At least, I really hope so. But the lack of breakthrough to the people I'm engaging with is sometimes very discouraging. And it is so easy to get and angry. It is so tempting to hurl insult. If I do hurl an insult, I usually try to at least include a correct counter-argument to whatever silly fallacy they're using. So about this angry atheist stereotype that is being pushed by some more outspoken theists. Like I said, Kim Ham is one such theist. In 2015, a study was actually done to look into this stereotype to see if it rang true. The Journal of Psychology described several studies conducted in the United States on whether atheists are in fact more angry than others. Some of the studies examined whether or not the quote-unquote angry atheist is a widely believed stereotype. Then, other studies looked at the accuracy of that belief. And none of the studies supported the notion that atheists are any angrier than anyone else. They are just believed to be. So, this thought that the angry atheist, that that's who we all are, or that that's who most of us are, is largely a myth. Although it is apparently a myth, a stereotype, I do feel like there is a bit of a phase that is common for atheists to go through, especially when they very first have left religion and have decided that they are now atheist. They usually feel betrayed, lied to. They want to engage with theists. Some people start arguing with their friends and family to try to win them over to their side. This is a phase I did not go through when I very first deconverted. In fact, I've never just gone through one, really zealous phase like some atheists do. This is a pretty common occurrence, though. So perhaps there is a very small grain of truth in the stereotype. Since I think we all probably know one non-believer or another who has had a phase like this. Not that we atheists don't have things to be rightly angry about. If not accepting silly ideas as fact makes us angry, then yeah, I guess we're angry. Call me angry. That is truly why some theists think we're all angry, is simply because we're not tolerating their behavior any longer. But as far as my own angry phase, it's coming more in fits and bursts, I think. I have days where I am just in a pissy mood, looking to pick a fight with anyone over any nonsense I come across. And when you go on social media, that's a tall order. And it's not just limited to atheism and theism and religious problems. Nearly Any lapse in critical thinking, however trivial, can set me off when I am in one of these moods. I have a hard time tolerating the bullshit when I come across it. You know, I'll see someone share a meme talking about, oh, for this ailment, use this essential oil, and for that ailment, use this one, and this one's best, for this problem. And it is so hard to not just be like, there is no evidence that essential oils do anything at all for any problem. They are not medicine, and in fact, they can be dangerous, especially if it comes into contact with your skin, and it's basically just a bunch of woo fuckery that smells kind of nice. I mean, as true as my statement is, it might be a bit abrasive. Not that there aren't times, where some abrasiveness is needed. In fact, I think that a lot of the times we treat issues with kid gloves when we should not. I do think that far too many people tolerate far too much bullshit, Oh, well, everyone has different beliefs. We must respect everyone's beliefs. No, the fuck I don't. If your belief is stupid and not based in any evidence, I'm going to call it what it fucking is. It's stupid bullshit, okay? But at the same time, sometimes you have to pick your battles. And this is a very hard lesson to learn. I'm still in the midst of learning it. Even though I've been an atheist for 10 years, I haven't really been in the practice of arguing with people. I never went through a phase where I was arguing a lot with my loved ones. I was in the closet for several years. It's only, pretty recently I started letting people know I was an atheist, and I'm still largely closeted. I mean, I do have, atheist listed as my religious preference on Facebook, but people don't really read your page. They don't go read your bio, your religious and political views usually. Or at least I don't think people do. I read other people's religious beliefs and views sometimes, especially when I get a new friend request from someone I don't know. My point is that even though the world, especially the social media world, is rife with misinformation, and you all know how I feel about misinformation, I think we should point it out, especially if it is something that is demonstrably false, especially if it's something dangerous. I think we should all be diligent and point out when things are not true. But I think I am also going to have to learn how to decide if something is really worth arguing about. Is this worth wasting hours of my day arguing with this person over? Because that is what I do sometimes. I get a little obsessive about it, and I can't think about anything else. I can't concentrate on anything else. I just have to win this person over. I have to win. Even though it is largely fruitless, I must learn how to deal with this in a better way. Today I have argued with some people, things that I am certain I am right about. Things that, there was a video, CBS News, which I follow on Facebook, posted a video of a man and a boy, father and son, and they were both wearing Elsa dresses from the movie Frozen, and they were playing the song Let It Go, and they were skipping around the room and dancing and singing along with it. Honestly, I think a very cute video and very positive, attitude from Dad. I imagine his little boy, I didn't dig into this, okay, I just watched the video. I imagine his little boy wanted to dress up like Elsa because he likes the movie Frozen. The dad was like, well, if you're going to do it, I'll do it with you. I'm not quite sure why the dad just had a Elsa dress that was adult size laying around. Maybe it was his wife's. Hell, maybe he does have an Elsa dress laying around. Who am I to question that, really? And they were just having a wonderful time. They were bonding and singing and dancing and playing dress up like a parent and a child ought to be able to do. And of course, like I always do, against my own good advice, okay? I read the comment section Why do I do this to myself? I just do. It's a problem. I have a problem. So I went to the comments section. Of course, half the comments are talking about, that just ain't right. Boys shouldn't wear dresses. Well, I'd never let my child wear a dress. Boys should wear pants. Why couldn't they just dance around in some pants? That ain't right, that man wearing a dress and teaching his son it's okay to wear a dress. You know, just your basic, stupid, ignorant, we must always adhere to social norms bullshit that you can, I'm sure you can imagine it. Just the same kind of bullshit we always fucking hear from these people, okay? And I was going through and haha reacting a lot of the more stupid comments. Maybe that's a little childish, but sometimes in order to slake my thirst for arguing with people, I do that instead, to try to not engage with people. It gives me just a little tingle of fun that I like, a very, very small bit of adrenaline when I haha one of their idiotic comments. But I came across this one comment. It was from a woman when women are bigoted, and maybe it shouldn't make me any angrier when it's a woman. Maybe that's a problem within myself, okay? But something about a mother saying about her own child, my son would never be allowed to do something like that. That is so wrong. This is everything that's wrong with the world today. That kind of comment just goes all over me, and it shouldn't. It's stupid, it's lowbrow, it's ill-informed, but it just does, especially when it's of the this is everything that's wrong with the world today variety, because letting a child play dress up, letting a boy play dress up in a dress and singing and dancing, that is everything that's wrong with the world today? Really, make-believe. I mean, this is the kind of make-believe you should be encouraging, okay? And, a couple of other people pointed out, presumably this woman's a Christian, okay? She's a white American. It's very, statistically she's likely to be Christian. And she has an issue with this, insinuating that it's wrong to let a little boy wear a dress. That's a very right-winged religious type of opinion. So she is most likely Christian. I did not actually go to her profile to try to confirm that or anything. But people were insinuating to her that she was a Christian, and she didn't deny it, so I'm assuming that was true. And somebody pointed out to her, oh, he's just wearing a dress. Kind of like Jesus always did. Jesus didn't wear pants. What do you have to say about that? She says nothing, of course, because people who cannot defend their position any better than this lady did. I mean, it was bad. So somebody else called her out and said, your opinion is, horrible and wrong, and I feel sorry for your children, because she had stated she had sons and she would never let them wear this. And they said, your opinion is harmful. The woman that she was responding to had told her, your attitude is disgusting. And then she did the thing. The thing that I really hate, the thing that really gets under my fucking skin anytime I hear anyone say it. She said, well, it's not an attitude. It is my opinion and my belief, and I am entitled to. Oh my fucking God, this shit drives me bananas. I hate it so much. And I said to her, yeah, and it's ignorant, and it's ill-informed, and it's truly everything that's wrong with this world. Maybe that's not the best clapback ever. I really wanted to dig into her whole that's my opinion thing, but I was trying to restrain myself just a little bit and throw some of her own words back at her a little. A couple hours go by. A couple other people commented on there, dragging her, and then she gets back on, she tags me in her comment and says, "And that's your opinion." Again, with the "that's your opinion" and "this is my opinion." So, it's trying to say, well, that's your opinion and this is my opinion, and we both have equally valid opinions, which is bull fucking shit. And I had to say so. Right after that, someone else said, "You should be ashamed." She replied, "Now, what if I went around saying that to anyone whose opinion was different than mine?" I had to comment. I said to her, "We are all well aware that that's your opinion. What you don't seem to be able to grasp is that your opinion is shit. Opinions are not all equal. One based in logic and reason is always going to be superior to one that is based on something as stupid and arbitrary as social norm. Furthermore, we don't have a difference in opinion. We have a difference in morals. Your attitude about this is harmful and therefore immoral. So yeah, you should be ashamed. And I don't give a fuck if you do want to say that back to us, because we all know it'd just be an attempt at some bullshit false equivalency." Yeah, it was a little ranty. I get ranty. If you've listened to any of my episodes before this one, you are well aware. And it's not just on this podcast that I am so, okay? It's a problem. Did I get through to her? Hell no. Did anyone that was reading that thread, besides her, read my comments and think, maybe she's got a point? I'd like to think so, but the chances are very low that happened. What was the point? I was right and she was wrong. She was being a bigot. She deserves to get called out for her bullshit. But at what cost am I doing these things? It causes me stress. It causes me anxiety. Yeah, when I make a particularly good argument, especially if it was just the right amount of snarky, I do get a little sense of joy out of it. But every time I look at my phone after that and I notice that I've got notifications from Facebook, I get a little knot in my stomach. I have an issue. But I don't know. Sometimes I think I might just be a little bit addicted to arguing. So I had to remind myself when this was over again, Ashley, pick your battles. Is this the hill you want to die on? And you know what? I think that one is probably one I'm okay with, honestly. Was it fruitful? Probably not. But it was something I was comfortable arguing about. I mean, I know she doesn't have any logical reasoning for her bigoted opinion. She's been raised to believe that it's wrong for boys to wear dresses or be girly. She did not express so, but it's entirely plausible that she thinks it might somehow make him gay or transgender. There are an awful lot of people out there who think so. And, this is one mantle I think I am willing to take up. But I'll tell you one situation today, a mantle I was not willing to take up on. Not with people I know, all right? And this is a worthy cause to argue with people over. It really is. It's one that I think is very important, okay? And I know there are atheists. Being an atheist does not mean you agree with all of my views. But I think that morally I am in the right, okay? I am pro-choice, like I think all reasonable people would be or should be. And a lot of people on Facebook are really angry lately. I noticed a lot today. A lot of people I went to school with, or people I'm acquainted with who are, of course, I live in Arkansas, so a lot of people I went to my rural, Arkansas town high school with are religious and conservative, and they are, of course, pro-life, or as I like to refer to them, pro-birth or anti-choice, because that's really what they usually are. It's very rare that you come across someone who is actually pro-life and then actually cares about the child afterwards. They are usually pro-life or call themselves pro-life, and then they don't give a fuck what happens to the kid after they get here. So that is how I like to refer to these people. I saw several people talking about how horrible it is that this law in New York was passed to allow women to get late-term abortions. And I think, as most of us who understand that pro-choice is the correct stance are aware, people who get late-term abortions aren't doing it for the hell of it or for the fun of it or because they decided when they are 8 or 9 months pregnant, oh, I don't want it anymore. That is not who's getting these abortions. I mean, when I think it's probably, if it even ever happens, is extremely rare. These women are women who want this child, but they have gotten tragic news that their child is not going to survive the birth, or that their child has a horrible disease that is causing them pain in the womb, or that when they are born they will have horrible pain. It is usually some kind of really tragic situation like that, where the child is suffering and is not going to survive, or is very unlikely to survive anyway. And I see all these posts about people saying, oh, even if the child has brittle bone disease, why wouldn't you want the child to be born so you can love it while it's here and hold it and love on it and let it know that it's loved while it's here? I mean, it's infuriating to me. That shouldn't be your decision for someone else. Every woman should have the right to choose for herself and for her child what is the right thing to do. And I am disgusted by these types of posts where, women made these choices for themselves. Some women were talking about, I had my child at 8 months, 7 months, and, this law would allow him to be aborted if someone didn't want their child. If your baby has this disease, you are wrong for terminating your pregnancy. These women would be wrong for getting this kind of abortion. You should want that baby to be born so you can love on it. And the problem is, this isn't always an option for women, and that's why it needs to be an option, so women can make the choice for themselves, and in truth, what is best for the baby as well. Infuriated me all day today. And I have chosen not to engage, even though I feel very passionately about this, because arguing with strangers on a CBS post where thousands and thousands of people are commenting and I don't know who they are is one thing. Engaging with someone who I personally know and went to school with, I knew that if I were to engage, give an argument for why I think my view is the correct one, it would have been absolutely pointless. And beyond that, I truly do not believe in that case I would change any minds at all. Talking about abortion is evil. I can't understand how anyone would ever want to do that. And yeah, I could have just stuck to the facts, not got emotional, stated that most of the women who do this are not just trying to kill the baby, they're trying to do the right thing. But people in the comments would not have listened. Quite often, people who are anti-choice, their minds are completely made up. You cannot change their minds. They're not making it for logical reasons. They're not basing their opinion on any kind of reason or rational thought. It's based on pure emotion. Sometimes they try to chalk it up to religion, although I really don't think that holds a lot of water. There's nothing that I've ever seen in the Bible that says you can't get an abortion. And in fact, there's one verse that seems to support the idea of abortion. So it's just purely emotion-based. They believe that it is murder. The whole notion of bodily autonomy is just completely foreign to them. Because, of course, when you're religious, you don't think a woman's body is her own anyway. It belongs to her husband or it belongs to God. Quite often, these are the views that these kinds of people have. So I was just silently very grateful that this law passed, and I truly hope that similar laws are going to pass everywhere else. Hopefully women will finally be able to choose what is right for their own bodies, because in these horrible, tragic circumstances, it shouldn't be up to anyone else but the mother. She's the only one who can make the right decision for herself and for her child. And there certainly shouldn't be some old, wrinkly men telling her what to do. What I did do, though, is I unfollowed these people. I didn't want to see their posts about it. I didn't want to be tempted to read the comments on those posts. I didn't want to be tempted to engage. I understand how fruitless it is. There are some opinions that are just so wrong-headed and so, in my opinion, vile, that they're just not worth entertaining. They're not worth wasting my time on. Most people in the United States are pro-choice, or at least semi-pro-choice, and I'm very grateful for that, but it's hard to remember that when you live in the middle of the Bible Belt, and I just, maybe I'm intolerant of their views. I mean, their views are so anti-women, anti-family, really, anti what is actually good for that fetus, that I can't tolerate the notions sometimes. Sometimes the best thing you can do, if things that other people are posting, stressing you out to see it, sometimes the best thing you can do is just unfriend them or unfollow them if you don't want to unfriend them. So that is sometimes what I do. I suppose there are people out there who would call me oh, you're just being a snowflake. You can't handle somebody's opinion. I am fully aware that there are people who are pro-life out there. Honestly, I can even sort of respect an opinion that is pro-life if they are also the kind of pro-lifers that understand poor, impoverished women and families are going to need assistance if they are forced by law to carry children to term and then have them. I can sort of respect that opinion. I still think it's wrong. It still doesn't respect a woman's bodily autonomy. At least they're not total hypocrites like the average pro-birther is. But I personally get really tired of seeing this shit all the time and it just infuriates me, and me feeling that way doesn't, it's pointless. So yeah, sometimes I do choose to just unfollow. Sometimes that's the right thing for me to do, personally. Because, I'm well aware of myself and how I am. There have been times when I engaged with people and got into arguments with people who I know, and the results are never good. I never win them over. Other people that we both know usually come to their aid, not mine. It's wonderful when I occasionally have someone come to my aid and agree with me in the argument, but that's usually not what happens. I don't need people to agree with me to know that I'm right, but it does feel nice, you know what I mean? And I get so obsessed and so angry, so unable to let it go, especially when it's someone I know. I let it go too far. I think in those times, my anger phase is really kind of coming to the surface. Remember, I told you mine kind of comes in leaps and bounds. It wasn't one solid block of several years where I went through an angry phase. Mine surfaces from time to time, rather. And it's during those times, afterwards I'll think, how did I just look to people? Was that fruitful at all? And I'm usually not happy with the way things went in those times. But we skeptics, we secular folks, we non-believers, we agnostics and atheists, we have a myriad of reasons to be angry. Even if the angry atheist is a myth, there are definitely things for us to legitimately be angry about. Here are a few things that I'm angry about. I'm angry about "In God We Trust" plaques being hung in schools, in my state as well as some other states. Gideon Bibles being handed out at schools to children. People indoctrinating their kids with fairy tales, and often hatred of anyone or anything that's different from them. I'm angry that so many are adamant that our leaders must be Christian. It is adamant that they are Christian. I'm angry when people falsely claim that our nation is a Christian one, like us non-believers don't even exist, or that people of other faiths don't exist. I'm angry that religious zealots quite often, more often than not, get into office and are constantly wasting taxpayer money by erecting Ten Commandment statues and the like on public grounds, knowing damn well that it's going to get sued and the state is going to have to waste taxpayer money defending this crap. Looking at you, Jason Rappert of my state, Arkansas, bastard. I'm angry that children often don't learn how to grieve properly because they are lied to about their loved ones being in heaven. And if you need a good example of this, if this is something you're having a hard time wrapping your mind around, I suggest you go watch a video from the Atheist Experience with a caller named Mandy. Perhaps that'll explain it to you a little better if you don't think heaven belief can be harmful or heartbreaking. I'm angry about televangelists scamming poor people out of their hard-earned money that they often don't have much of to line their pockets and buy them jets and mansions and preaching their nonsense gospel of prosperity. And I'm angry that so many people believe that me and other people like me out there, probably all you listeners, that we are bad people just because we are atheists, that we must not have any morals from anywhere because we don't have a deity to give them to us. And there are so many other reasons, legitimate reasons for us to be angry about. So be mindful of how you are arguing. Sometimes a little tact can go a long way. A kind word and a kind explanation can often get you a lot farther with someone on the opposite side than just calling them a stupid jackass who's using a bunch of logical fallacies. As tempting as that is, I'm not saying don't point out logical fallacies, but sometimes maybe a less flippant approach is the best way. And I think I have to say, I'm not sure if this anger that I feel sometimes, I'm not sure if it's so much a phase as it is an inevitability when we live in a society where vast majority of people are religious, and most of those Christians. Their religion informs their actions, how they treat others, and how they vote, which affects all the rest of us. Thank you for listening to Basically Atheist. I hope you found this episode beneficial in some way, if not at least a little entertaining. If you like what you hear, if you appreciate my show, please follow me on Twitter, on Facebook, on YouTube, and our podcast, I say our, it's just me. My podcast is available on iTunes and on Podbean. Thanks for listening. Till next time.